What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from Marvel, DC, and even IDW as well. But today, we're gonna jump back to the 1990s, and we're gonna pick up with Milestone Comics. Now, Milestone Comics was a small comic book company that came out in the year 1993, but closed their doors in 1997. But they published a line of stories about black superheroes. Matter of fact, guys, Static Shock, the popular hero from the early 2000s, he was originally from this universe right here. And so today, we're going to jump over to Milestone Comics and cover the first appearance of Icon, which was supposed to be Milestone Comics' big-time superhero. The one they were hoping that would take off, but except it was Static Shock. I do hope you enjoy today's video. So in the beginning of this story, we pick up in the year 1839, where we see this alien ship being under attack or being destroyed. Either way, we see an alien trying to escape the ship before it blows up, which leads to the alien escaping on one of the pods of the ship before it blows up. But with that escape pod, of course, it heads towards Earth, where we see a young lady who's asleep in her own bed. She sees the space pod that is carrying the alien crash down on Earth. Now I have to skip a page because it does have nudity here, but basically the alien sees the lady and transforms itself into a young black baby boy. But we pick up with the alien who has taken the disguise as a young black boy, but as an alien now, going by Augustus Freeman IV in the year 1993. So it has been over 100 years since he crashed on Earth. But the point is to keep his secret origin a secret. After being adopted by the enslaved black woman from earlier, he pretends to be the son of his previous identity. And so with him being called Freeman IV, he is stating that he is the great-great-grandson of his first identity. But we learn that he is a lawyer now, but we see him talking to his close friend about how he met a young girl a while back who has been on his mind. Something she said about making a difference. Now we pick up with a character named Raquel, who is this young girl Augustus mentioned earlier that he met. Basically, she tells us that she always wanted to be a writer, but does not have a typewriter because she lives in the poor section of Dakota. She does not have any money. But it does lead to her hanging out with some of her friends who are planning to rob a rich person's home, because all the police officers will be at the Big Bang event, and we're going to talk about the Big Bang event in later videos. Except when you have Raquel and her friends actually arrive at a random house that belongs to a rich person, they begin the process of stealing things, but while Raquel was in the study, she hears the homeowner's voice. Of course, the homeowner is no other than Augustus himself, where of course he walks in on Raquel's friends in the other room. Now her friends decide that they need to pull out a gun to hopefully scare Augustus away, if not kill him off then. Except when they fire the gun and it seems like they have killed him off, he shows them that he has powers, that he can take bullets to the chest, and this leads to him showing off that he can fly as well. And so with him using his abilities, he is able to grab the children. But this leads into him kind of telling the children that, hey, I'm going to let you guys leave. I will not turn you over to the cops, but you can't tell anyone my secret at all. He does mention that what they did makes black people look bad. Now you have the children point out that where they come from, they have no choice but to steal, but you have the children leave. Now this leads into the birth of the Icon persona, because after that night you have Raquel go home and think about what had happened, and so she goes back over to Augusta's house and begins to talk to him about being an icon, no pun intended. With his powers, he can be an example for the people that anyone can do great things, that he can be the icon to show people to do the right thing as well. And so where he agrees to use his powers to be an example, you have him actually fly over to Raquel's house and give her a box, which is her own superhero outfit, and she'll become a character named Rocket. Now you have Icon meeting with Rocket on Paris Island, which is another poor area of Dakota. The thing is that while being there, he starts to get more inspired to change things and be an icon for people because he sees the way people are living in this area. And so when he meets up with Raquel, of course, this is them coming to an agreement that they're going to work together to do amazing things. And they fly off to give us our first look at Icon and Rocket in comic book history. Now again, I have to skip over a page because of some language in this book. But we come to find out that at City Hall, there is a situation going on where the mayor is being held hostage. And so you had Icon fly in thinking that the cops would be down for him to help them out. Except all they see is this big guy flying in out of nowhere who could be part of the group holding the mayor hostage. Before we can see more of this, we actually jump back 4 hours ago, where we pick up with Kevin Franklin. Now, Kevin Franklin is going to be the bad guy of this story, but he has a good reason for being one in this story, where we see him going into City Hall, and everyone thought he was dead because he was at the Big Bang and has not been seen for in months, but he just randomly came back out of nowhere. His goal is to go after the mayor, where he goes into her office and begins the process of taking her as a hostage, letting his team know he has her and everything is going as planned. Also, the mayor's name is Tomisha Jefferson, just in case you want to know. Now, getting back to the present day, we see Icon and Rocket being held hostage by the police, or really being held up, where you had the two of them try to explain why they are there for, but of course the police is not listening. Except it does lead into the police trying to fight against them, but we get to see some of the powers of Rocket. She has a force field thanks to the equipment that Icon gave her. Now her force field absorbs attacks and lets her send them back at the person who was trying to attack her. Now she only knows about the fact that she can absorb physical attacks like punches and kicks. Later on, she will learn that she can absorb kinetic energy as well. Now, of course, you have Icon step in because he knows sooner or later, with Rocket's powers and the police using their weapons, someone is going to get hurt. But it is funny to see because you have these police officers try their best to hurt Icon, and all of his powers are protecting him and actually making the cops realize that they have messed up trying to go after him. Now you have Icon deciding that everyone should stop, which they do, but to make sure no one else starts fighting again, you have Icon send Rocket away and let the police officers actually arrest him to be an example that he is not here to start anything nor hurt anyone. Now earlier, I think I mispronounced the mayor's name. I think her name is Thomasina Jefferson. I could be wrong, but I think it is Thomasina. Now we do get a one-page setting where we see Kevin Franklin talking to Thomasina Jefferson about her omitting something. We also learn that he was an aide to Thomasina, but apparently he is going to make sure she omits what she did or he will kill her instead. But getting back over to Icon, who was put into handcuffs and being thrown in the back of a police car, we see him letting us know that the police force here in Dakota have their own SWAT team, except they go by the name SHRED, which stands for Special Heavy Equipment Rapid Emergency Deployment. That these guys were sent out because their tactics are more aggressive. But while seeing SHRED being an elite force, when the SHRED team tries to move in and get the mayor back, that's when they come to find out that it was a trap and SHRED members get blown away. And so you have Icon break out of the police vehicle and begin the process of saving these cops. But you also have him tell us that Rocket did not actually leave, that she just flew away to a nearby rooftop, and Icon knew that she was there. And so you have her also jump in to help save some of the members of the Shred police force. Now this is the point where we actually learn what Franklin wants Tamanisha to tell the world about. That apparently she told the police force to use a special gas that was made at the Big Bang, except it was not just your average tear gas, that it was actually some new chemical that her and the police team made up. And so when it got used, it killed a bunch of kids, but also other things happened as well. And so when Rocket and Icon finally get inside the mayor's office to stop Franklin, he transforms into the first villain for Icon, and his name is Payback, this ugly looking creature for Icon to fight against. So of course, this leads into a battle between our heroes and Payback. Now this section is really important because we learn more of how Icon powers work here, because you do have Payback begin the process of battling Icon. It does get to the point where Payback is able to slash Icon across the chest, and it actually does damage to Icon. We see him pass out, but he is holding his chest that is literally bleeding. To Icon, that should not have been possible for Payback to do that to him. Now with Icon out for the moment, you have Rocket jump into the fight against Payback, and Payback does have super strength, but Rocket's force field again does absorb physical damage and gives her the ability to send it right back at the opponent. And so we have Payback punch her, but she hits him right back with what he just hit her with, and he realized that he is way over his head. And so you have him leave to hopefully get away from Rocket and Icon, and after he leaves, we learn that Icon is okay, but he needs time for his wounds to heal up after being slashed like that by Payback. And so the story begins to wind down a little bit because you have Rocket chase Payback all the way into the sewers, where we see her get down there and get a surprise attack from Payback, but of course she's again able to handle him like she did earlier. While she was doing that in the sewers, you have Icon finally healing up after being slashed by Payback earlier, except it leads to him meeting the mayor for the first time and telling her why he is here, how he is going to be the hero of the city from this point on out. But we see him also take care of the gang that came with Franklin to help him capture the mayor. Like I said, we are at the point where the story begins to wind down. Now this leads to Franklin explaining why he did all of this for, which I stated earlier that the mayor and her people made some new gas that was supposed to do something to the people at the Big Bang event. She lied to everyone saying it was just a new version of tear gas, but in reality it wasn't. And so the new gas killed people or gave people powers, and of course Franklin was there too, and he gained powers. And so you have Icon appear saying that he heard everything, but tells Franklin it is best for him to let the cops take him in, but Icon will make sure that the people who messed up will be brought into justice. And we're going to end the video on two things happening. The first being that you have the mayor give Icon the key to the city 2 weeks after the Payback situation, but also we see Icon and Rocket talk after that, where you have Icon telling Rocket that she is going to be sidelined for a while because with his powers he was able to detect that she is pregnant, and Rocket had no idea that she was pregnant. Now, this is part of the video where I sit down and give my thoughts on about the book. Now, to be honest, the book is great, or not great, it's okay, but truthfully, this was my first time reading anything from Milestone Comics. this was my first time ever because I barely heard about Static Shock coming from that universe. I only learned about that a year or two ago, which is crazy because when I was a young boy, I watched every episode of Static Shock. And so when I found out that Static Shock came from Milestone Comics, my mind was blown. It was blown out the water. But I have to say, for my first time reading anything from Milestone Comics and me reading about Icon, I liked the story. Now, I will admit, there were some plot holes here and there in the book, but hey, it's the mid-90s and they were trying to build this new universe in the middle of the 90s, which was a bad time for comics. So I give them a break right there. But I do like Icon. He was cool. Outfit's kind of cool. I like Rocket, even though her outfit is somewhat similar to Gambit in a way, but I still like her outfit. But yeah, I'm kind of intrigued to read more from Milestone Comics. Matter of fact, tonight I'm going to sit down and read some Static Shock books because I really want to sit down and see what Milestone Comics did for Static in the mid-90s. Because the only books I read about Static Shock was DC New 52 Static Shock. So it'll be a whole new thing for me. But yeah, I like this book. But anyways, y'all, go ahead and pick this story up. But we're going to end today's video right here. So please leave me a like down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I'll see y'all next time. Later.